Our children are the future. The author of the Washington Post, Cortland Milloy, stated Jim McKellen, a dean of liberal arts at Northern Virginia Community College, has been teaching Native American history at the college for 47 years and explained history has to be honest or its mythology. When it comes to American history, we had enough mythology. The author Milloy states McKellen also explains the influence and impact of native tribes surrounds us, but has been overlooked and under-acknowledged, and he also adds 24 of the 50 states have names of Indian origin. Some examples of names derived from Native people are Chicago, Tucson, Seattle, Miami, Wichita, Tacoma, Waco, to name a few. The author of the Washington Post states McKellen describes foods such as potatoes, artichokes, pineapple, tomatoes, chocolate, and vanilla were developed by Native Americans, and he also adds about over half of the crops grown on American farms comes from plants developed and domesticated by Native Americans. The author Arnett explains PEN America, a New York-based nonprofit that focuses on free expression, the advancement of literature and human rights, that between January and September of 2021, 54 bills were introduced in 24 states to limit the ability of educators at the K-12 and higher ed levels to discuss racism and the way it has shaped American systems. From the article, The CRT Debate, the author Adam Arnett claims Dr. Rayshawn Ray, a professor of sociology and the executive director of the Lab for Applied Science, Social Science Research at the University of Maryland, explains any discussions about race as being framed as critical race theory, and those who want to oppose children learning racial equality. From the article, Four Things Schools Won't Be Able to Do Under Critical Race Theory Law, the author Isha Pandharkar explains not only are discussions going to be limited, but administrators say this broad ban will make it difficult for teachers to talk about daily news, most social justice movements, and many historical events. The author Madeline Will claims some of the state laws specify consequences for teachers who break them. For example, in Arizona, if teachers talk about racism, sexism in the classroom, they could be fined for up to $5,000. According to the article, The CRT Debate, the author Arnett claims 10 states passed laws restricting discussions of race, racism, and gender in schools. For example, Florida explicitly banned discussions for anything that might make white students feel discomfort around the role racism played in shaping American society. The author Arnett states Dr. Poon explained there's a fear among a lot of scholars, especially scholars of color, who are trying to fight the blowback of personal costs. Poon claims herself and multiple colleagues received threats for doing research on systematic inequality. The author Arnett states, a report from PEN America authors Jeremy C. Young and Jonathan Friedman explains it's more than the number of bills that demonstrate the extent of the problem. It reveals lawmakers are becoming more bolder and more creative in their efforts at censorship. Some solutions for the CRT debate is the author of the CRT debate, Autumn Arnett, claims the pushback against critical race theory has increased students' interest. The author adds Dr. Cynthia Tyson, a professor at the College of Education and Human Ecology at The Ohio State University, stated other departments are asking for primers on critical race theory so they can work it into their courses, like a crash course. The author Arnett explains Rayshawn Ray, professor of the University of Maryland, College Park, claims students are trying to understand and make sense of critical race theory, and states it's his job as a professor to fill that gap. And his explanation is by doing one simple thing, using the same process we use for everything else. But the spreading across disciplines is because we are in this moment of racial awakening. According to Arnett, Dr. Kuhn, an associate professor of higher education and the director of the Race and Intersectional Studies for Educational Equality Center at Colorado State University, claims there's a long-standing movement for civil rights and anti-racism action in this long-standing cultural war. The author Arnett claims Dr. Cynthia Tyson, professor at the Ohio State University, stated, "The debate made space and created a look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and to have that conversation through a critical race theory lens that wasn't there before." The author claims Tyson, who also lectures at the Ohio State College of Medicine, says they're always looking for new ways to report the data because that's what it is, a theory to help you analyze data, and it's giving them a new lens to do that. Call to action. According to an article in Education Week, the author Madeline Will claims 2 national teachers unions presented a single underlying message, which I'll quote: "Teachers must be honest about the racial injustices so that students learn to think critically about how the country's problematic past has shaped its present." The author Will also claims the National Education Association President Becky Pringle is calling for educators to teach the truth about the most painful part of American history. The author Will states union delegates passed many measures, one of which was introduced by the NEA's board of directors that states the nation's 2 largest teachers unions will support and lead campaigns, and it's part of a larger $675,000 effort to eradicate institutional racism in public schools. The author Madeline Will claims the president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Garton, set up a legal fund to protect teachers, claiming their union will defend any member who gets in trouble for teaching honest history. The author Will adds the president of the NEA, Becky Pringle, states, "I'll quote, and every time they attempt to bring up some other way to divide us and to stoke fear or to take away the light shining on them, we will be there to call it out, to speak up, and to fight back."